Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Em, and today is the first day of SUMMERWEEN. SUMMERWEEN is a readathon that was created by emjaereads. I will link the Instagram account and her announcement video, if I remember, down below. And it's basically a week-long readathon to celebrate all things spooky when we're all melting from the heat in the summer. Oregon summer doesn't really start until 4th of July, which is yesterday, and you know what? She took it seriously this year, and it's gonna be like 97, 98, and 100 degrees for the next 5 days, so I will definitely be melting, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'd rather be hot than be cold, so it'll be fine. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about all the books that I want to read this week. Let me rephrase that. We're going to talk about all the possibilities for me to read this week, because there is no way in hell I am going to be able to read all these books, and that's okay. I just like to have a pile of options. So let's start with the one I already started, because of course I did start a book this morning when I woke up. I started Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This comes out at some point in July, and I am 40-something% of the way through. This book is set in Hollywood and is about Misha, who is a screenwriter, and the studio that Misha works for has decided that it would be best for the algorithm if Misha were to kill off his two very evidently gay characters. And Misha, of course, refuses. And then all of a sudden, these characters from horror movies that he has written start appearing and following him and his friends around, and it's creepy, and I am not quite sure where we're gonna go. There is a little bit of a mixed media element because we have screenplays of screenplay snippets of some of Misha's horror films. There's also a little bit of a flashback element. I'm very, very intrigued, and I read Camp Damascus last summer. I actually did a whole vlog reading it because I was so excited for it, and yeah, I'm a big Chuck Tingle fan, so I'm excited for this. I'm excited to keep going with this. And then for the possibilities, some of these will have been in my June TBR, but then some of them are just ones that I very impulsively grabbed off my shelf. I have two Kirsten White books. I have the fourth book in the Sinister Summer. I have Menacing Manor. This is middle grade, so this would be a good choice if I want something that still fits the vibe but isn't scary. If I overdose on the horror books, this would be a good choice. I also picked up Mr. Magic, which is her adult horror, which I haven't heard good things about. I don't think people really like this one, but I love her middle grade so much that I'm willing to take a chance on it. And then I also have Tender is the Flesh by, I need to learn how to say this author's name, but I will learn that before this vlog is over. I will learn how to say her name. And this is translated horror where humans have shifted from eating animal meat to eating human meat, and I believe this is set in a human slaughterhouse. Again, I've heard very mixed things. I feel like this is a 5-star book or this is a 1-star book. There's no in the middle. I also have Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven, which is survival horror. I believe it's set at an amusement park, and it's told, I think, through interview format about what happened after a hurricane hit this theme park and isolated everybody. And then I also have The Girl in Red by Christina Henry, and I think this is post-apocalyptic pandemic horror. I haven't read Christina Henry before, and this is, out of all of her books, this is one that interests me the most. I also have Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. This is YA horror with a trans main character. This is definitely the thickest book on my little stack. I also have I Was a Teenage Slasher coming. It was a pick for Aardvark Book Block for July, and of course that's what I picked. It's supposed to be here on Monday or Tuesday, so that's also an option. I tried to pick, with the exception of Hell Followed With Us, I tried to pick short books because in my dream world I would maybe read a book a day for this next week. Look, maybe that's delusional. It's probably delusional, but I like to think positive and optimistically. And the fact that I'm already about halfway through Bury Your Gaze tells me I can do great things. So I'm going to try to do great things. That's what I'm going to do. So to start off this readathon, I'm actually about to pack up and go to a coffee shop for a little while. This has been a fairly intense parenting week. Nothing bad, just everyone has needed a lot of things from me a lot of the times. And I'm a little tapped out and my husband doesn't have to work today. So yeah, I'm gonna take my horror book and I'm gonna go to a coffee shop and I'm just gonna sit with my earbuds in and not have to hear Mom for a little bit, which is, I think, really what I need in this moment. So let's go do that. And happy Summerween, friends. Y'all, did I have mascara under my face the whole first clip? Why didn't y'all tell me? Okay, I know I said we're going to a coffee shop. We are. But first, we're going to go by Joann's and see if they have any Halloween stuff out yet. I know. It's the day after 4th of July, but you never know. So, let's go see. From my little coffee date. It was so nice. It wasn't too hot yet and there was a breeze, and like, I know wind and heat are not good for like forest fire situations, but I really love a windy hot day, so it was perfect for me. I did get a mug at Joann's. I couldn't resist. They didn't have any cross stitch stuff though, which is what I was also kind of going in there for, so I did cave and I bought a digital pattern on Etsy, but I now need to get supplies, so I might be going back to Joann's. We'll see. I am also this far through Bury Your Gaze. It did get gross enough that I've been listening while reading, because the audiobook was an ALC for Libro FM and I have it. I did have to pause the audiobook and read it with my eyeballs, like I kind of skim it, because I was getting nauseous. So it's a lot of body gore stuff, which I don't like. So that's not fun. I do really want to eat, but I also want to listen a little bit longer and do some chores, and I know I cannot eat while I'm reading this book. So I'm going to do some chores and then I'll have lunch. But I think I have like an hour and something minutes left on the audiobook, so I think it's totally doable to finish this today, because it's not even 1:30 yet, so I can do it. But I'm really liking it. I think I might like it more than Camp Damascus, maybe, but also like check your content warnings, because Chuck Tingle does not shy away from the real life horrors that queer people have to deal with. So there is a lot of homophobia in here. There's a lot of queer hate in here. And of course, it's nothing that the author is in support of. Like the people that are saying these words and doing cruel things and being violent towards Misha are very much portrayed as bad people. But, you know, it's like, it's still there though. Like, even if those, I mean, I don't know if those bad guys are going to get their comeuppance, but even if they do, like, it's still content in here that you have to take in. So I'd say just take care of yourself if you decide to pick this up. But I'm liking it a lot. It's also touching on like my favorite topic right now, which is queer experiences, like lived queer experiences, and the horror genre, and how those two things interconnect in a lot of ways. Because like I just read, what's it called? Came from the Closet last month, which is a collection of essays written by queer and trans people about different horror movies and how they relate to their lived experiences, or a singular lived experience. So it's a fascination of mine at the moment. So it's kind of a fun little rabbit hole to go down. So anyways, my arm is getting tired now, so I'm gonna pop on my headphones and do more laundry, do the dishes, and just tidy, because I don't know about you, but when it is really hot outside, if my house is messy, I feel warmer. I don't know. Don't ask me to explain it. It's just how it is. So I'm going to go clean. All right, friends. I finished it. Bury Your Gaze. I did listen to the audiobook while I was reading most of this. I will say, audiobook is fun. Well, I have complicated feelings about the audiobook. I like the narrator. I thought they did a horrible job at doing women's voices, as per usual, I think, for male sounding narrators. And there are scripts in here of screenplays for different movies, like little sections, and they had full cast for those scripts. So that part was cool. But then the scripts also had sound effects, which sometimes was decidedly not cool. Also, this book is very gross, just with like body horror and just lots of things. It's gross. I think it's grosser than Camp Damascus. Maybe 3 times while I was listening to the audiobook, I had to pause it, find where I was in the physical book, skim that section, and then I could start the audiobook again. But there were several scenes where listening to it on audio was too much. And so I had to read it with my eyeballs, and even that was kind of a lot. There was one scene in particular, I was on the bed reading it, and I knew what was going to happen because it had been hinted, and I put the book down, and my husband was laughing at me because like I desperately wanted to keep reading and find out how it was going to end, but I also did not want to read what was about to happen. And it was a real like push and pull of, is my like repulsion at what is about to happen greater than my desire to read the book, or like which side is going to win. I sucked it up and I read it, and I didn't like it, but I read it. I'm giving this 5 stars. It was good. I liked it a lot. I liked it more than Camp Damascus, and I think I gave Camp Damascus like a 4 or 4.5 stars, and I liked this more. I love the themes. I loved the structure. I loved what Chuck Tingle had to say. I love that this is like, that he set up that like Camp Damascus and Bury Your Gaze exist in the same Tingleverse. That's awesome. I love that. And so Misha's best friend Tara is aromantic and asexual, and I'll just say she has a killer monologue at the end about the lack of ace or arrow characters in media, and it was wonderful. And I cheered. I was like, yeah, you go, girl. It was a great moment. This was great. I'm exhausted because I basically read this in one day. So I don't know if I can keep up this pace for 7 days. It is 5:15. We're doing pizza and movie night. The kids and my husband got started on the movie because I really, really wanted to finish this book. I only had 10 pages left. So I'm going to go in there because also there's AC in the living room. But for bedtime tonight, because you know I need a bedtime book that's not going to freak me out, I'm going to start Menacing Manor by Kirsten White, because this will not be scary. It's just like spooky vibes, not actually spooky. So this will be the bedtime book for the next however long it takes me to read it. And then for tomorrow, I'm not sure what I'm going to start. I don't think I'll do Mr. Magic quite yet, because I don't know if I want to read 2 Kirsten White books at the same time, though that might be interesting, little compare and contrast. So maybe, I'm definitely not going to do Tenders the Flesh yet. I think I'll save this one for Sunday. I'm actually kind of leaning towards Fantastic Land tomorrow, if I'm being honest. I think this will be another quick read. I would like to read another book with like kind of like an interview mixed media element, and I think this will be fun. So plan going forward, but I think Summerween is off to a fantastic start. Saturday. I have to go to work for about an hour and a half this morning. I'm just going to go teach one of my classes, and then we're going to go play at the river with some friends. So I thought I would give you an update while I figure out if I want a ponytail for work today or if I want to braid my hair. I'm leaning towards the braids just because the building I work in is kind of old. The dance class I teach is in the basement, and the AC is not always the best. So it could be fine, it could be comfortable, it could be not the best. And as easy as a ponytail is, I think braids will hold up a little bit easier. But anyways, while I braid my hair, I am going to give you an update on the reading that I've done this morning. So I started off, I read a little bit more of Menacing Manor this morning. So I'm on page 88, chapter 10, and this is picking up where book 3, Camp Creepy, left off, where the kids discovered something very, very important at the end of that book, and now they are on to the next location. And the setup for this series is that anyways, the setup for the Sinister Summer series is that the Sinister Winterbottom siblings have been abandoned by their parents, basically, and they're left in the care of their Aunt Sophronia, who they've never met before, and everything is just weird. And their Aunt Sophronia buys them tickets to this water park, and they go for the day, and everything is still just weird and not how it's expected. And so each book is a little bit of a mystery, and they're working to figure out what happened to their parents, like where their parents have gone, realizing that there are other children whose parents have also mysteriously disappeared this summer. And so for Menacing Manor, the kids end up at Frank and Stein bed and breakfast. They're really fun. They're not scary. They're, maybe a little bit sinister, hence Sinister Summer, but only sinister on the surface, like once you get to the bottom. Though I guess the bad guys have been a little bit, like some of the adults are sinister, like not best intentions. Anyways, it's really fun. I'm having a good time. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. There are a lot of characters to keep track of now because they've collected so many kids along the way. So we'll see how that, like if I'm able to keep everyone straight. But I love the like little play on Frankenstein and all the different little like Easter eggs in this little, middle grade series. It's pretty fun. I did cave and I used a Libro FM credit to get the audiobook because I really feel like they're fine to read physically, but the audio experience is just it just makes it so much better. The person that narrates the audiobooks, what is her name? Kayla Lee. She does such a good job. Like, she makes them even more fun than they would be if I just read them with my eyeballs. And then I'm also, let me finish this braid. I'll get everything braided and then I'll probably pin it up somehow or do like buns, low buns. I don't know. I'll do something so it's not touching my skin. And then I am, how far? 102 pages into Fantasticland. This, to nobody's surprise, because what's the comp on the back? Lord of the Flies meets Battle Royale. So it's dark and it's pretty gruesome and it's already really violent and it's told in interview format. So the setup is that this book is another book that's been written. Like there's an author's note right at the beginning, but it's an author's note from like the fictional author of the book that all these interviews were compiled for sort of like an oral history of what happened at Fantasticland. And so it starts really fast. You get, each person's perspective on what's happened, and you're kind of going in chronological order of what happened when the hurricane hit the Florida coast and how huge the storm was and how devastating it was for all of Florida, not just Fantasticland, and like the circumstances that led to the employees being left in Fantasticland for as long as they were. And I had thought it was like staff and guests, but it's just staff. And so most of them are like in their early 20s. And it's interesting. So the employees end up separating out into different factions pretty fast and going into the different lands in Fantasticland. There's like a pirate cove, fairy prairie, there's like a futuristic area, and then there's like a soldier area. And so they divide it pretty fast and have like their territories. But the pirate guys in the pirate cove are the ones that end up going off of like the deep end the first and like really perpetuating a lot of the violence. And I wonder if we'll ever get an interview from like their perspective to explain why they immediately turned to violence and like if that part will be explained, because right now it's just like they're just being horrible and inhuman for no reason, it feels like, and it feels almost like a caricature. But we'll see if it gets, like if that gets explained, or if there's like backstory, or if we get just more, I don't know, nuance into that and not just, I don't know. I would like there to be a reason, and not just that, I don't know. Yeah, the last line of the synopsis says it's a modern take on those two books, and that probes the consequences of a social civilization built online. So the author has mentioned a couple times, like the interviewees, the people being interviewed have mentioned a couple times, like the older ones, that the kids don't know what to do without any social media or being able to check their phones or Facebook. And I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a cop-out explanation for people not knowing what to do. I don't know. It doesn't strike true with me so far, but it is very compelling to read. I am also listening to an audiobook because I had heard that the audiobook was definitely the way to go. So I would also recommend the audiobook if you want to do that. It does have a full cast narration, and I'm listening to it on Everand. This book was really hard to find otherwise. My library didn't have it, and I'm in 2 library systems, and neither of them had it. Only the ebook was available on Hoopla, and which means I would have had to read on my phone, and I don't do that because that's not fun for me to read on my phone. I ended up getting this on Pango, which worked out nicely, but this was not an easy book to get a hold of. I'm not sure which one I'll finish today. If I finish one today, I'm kind of about at the same point. They're both quick reads, so we'll see. But that is your update. Okay, I just finished Fantastic Land. I don't know what my rating is going to be yet, and I am still sorting out my thoughts on it. They're complicated. I could give it a 1-star right now. I could give it a 4-star right now. I just don't know. So I'll give you like a proper update tomorrow, but I may be deviating from my TBR a little bit. I want something a little bit more fun and a little bit more campy, and all the horror I have left on my stack is very serious, I think. So I'll check back in, but I'm going to do some poking around and see if I can find something a little bit more fun and a little less traumatic. Who knew? So stay tuned. I'll let you know tomorrow, but I just wanted to let you know in this moment that I don't know. I think I need to mix things up a little bit. So I'll tell you what I decide in the morning. Good morning. Happy day 3 of Summerween. I tried a chapter of all the books that were on my TBR last night, and everything's really heavy, but I did come up with a plan for maybe for the rest of the readathon. We'll see. I am going to focus on Menacing Manor today because, I'm enjoying it. I've already made some progress. I didn't forget about it. And then I ended up very impulsively checking Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison out from the library. And this is a werewolf book, and from what I've heard, Rachel Harrison writes more campy, lighthearted horror, which is exactly what I'm after. I haven't read Rachel Harrison yet, but I do love a werewolf story. So I started it last night. I'm liking it so far. And then after I finish Such Sharp Teeth, then I am going to start Hell Followed It With Us, because out of the 4 books that I read the first chapter of, this was the one that caught my interest the most. That's the plan. And as far as my thoughts on Fantastic Land, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. It started off so strong. I loved the first few chapters, interviews, whatever you want to call them. But I feel like even though it's not a long book, like it's not a long book, it felt towards the end it felt like it was going on for too long. And it's a very surface level book, which is fine, but towards the end, it being a surface level book started to fall apart. And there's one character who's supposed to be like the big bad person in the park, and his interview towards the end felt really pointless. Like, why did we do this? It didn't reveal anything. It didn't add anything. The characters started to feel very one-dimensional after a while. There were also a couple parts when it was from a woman's perspective where the things that the author wrote were very like, oh yeah, this is a very stereotypical how a man writes a woman character kind of thing. It wasn't quite she went boobily tripping down the stairs, but it was leaning in that direction. Now, that being said, it was very much compulsively readable, obviously. I read it in one day. I did not have a hard time reading it. I thought the audiobook was really, really well done. if I was just rating it off of the audiobook alone would be 5 stars. The performances the narrators gave were so good, like stellar performances. They did such a good job, but I did find it lacking, and I'm not sure if I wanted more dimension in the characters or if I wanted more of a realistic plot, and that's just not what this book is. And I just never bought the thesis statement that these kids turned to violence because they didn't have access to their phones. Like, that was always a little ridiculous. And the way that the younger staff members were referred to, what was kind of patronizing, like, oh, they're just 5 seconds out of middle school. It's like, okay, well, you know. So overall, just not my favorite, which is too bad because I had really high hopes that I would love this book. I really thought I would, but that's okay. I am glad that I have read it, and I might read Hide by Kirsten White, which is another amusement park horror book, which I have not heard good things about because I don't think people really like Kirsten White, but as I said earlier, I do. So I might try her amusement park book, and then if I don't like that, then I think I'm just gonna assume that amusement park horror is not for me. But I definitely know that anything that is comped to Lord of the Flies is not for me. And maybe that should have been my sign that I wasn't going to love Fantasticland. But in my defense, the last time I read Lord of the Flies was in high school. And so, you know, it's been a minute. So it was not unreasonable to assume that my opinions would have changed in the last vertebrate years. So I am glad I gave it a shot. Lord of the Flies is like that people turning on each other in violent, horrific ways is still not a plot that I like at all, ever. So look, we learn something new every day. That's great. Okay, so for now, I did sleep in this morning. It's still going to be so hot today. It's going to be like 99 degrees. We're talking about going, or my husband and I were talking about going and doing some stuff this morning, before it gets too hot, just so we leave the house a little bit and don't turn into gremlins. I don't know where I was going with that sentence anyways, but for now, I'm going to read this. I might watch some YouTube. I'm very tired, and that's what coffee's for. Dang, y'all. That cliffhanger was brutal. As always, this is a fun time. I'm gonna give it like 4.25. We got no more answers, more questions about what is going on with the sinister, let me adjust you a little bit, the sinister Winterbottom children's parents, but cliffhangers get me every time, and I'm mad because when we were at the bookstore earlier today, they had book 5 and I thought about getting it, didn't, and now I wish I had. I actually didn't buy any books for myself while we were there. We went to the library to turn in all of our summer reading things, and we all got free books. I picked up Dear Sylvia, Love Jane. This is by a local author in my town who actually works at our independent bookstore, and I haven't read it yet, and it was on the free book shelf, so I grabbed it. What was that? Oh, it's my sticker. I also got a sticker for finishing the summer reading program. And for my kids, well, for the 12-year-olds, for middle schoolers, if you finish the summer reading program, you get a $10 gift card that can basically be used at any business on our little Main Street area, which includes the bookstore. So we went up and they each picked out a book, and actually my oldest picked out, like, the book she picked out at the library for her free book was We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal, which I want to read, and then she also got volume 6 of Lore Olympus at the bookstore, which I want to read, so I'm going to be borrowing her books here pretty soon. But we have a wrinkle in the Summerween reading plans. The first wrinkle is that my audio hold for Leather and Lark finally came in, so I might pivot and read this. This is a dark romantic comedy series. This is book 2, and it's about serial killers. Oh. Hold please. Okay, sorry, that's a timer for one of my kids. Okay, so book 1 is about 2 serial killers, and then this is book 2, and this is about a contract killer and a musician who have a marriage of convenience or fake relationship, something like that. Butcher and Blackbird is book 1. That was like one of my favorite books of the year. I gave it 5 stars. I've been really excited about this, but I've been waiting for the audiobook because I primarily read Butcher and Blackbird on audio, and it was such a good audiobook experience that I really wanted to do it again. So yeah, the audiobook for this just came in. So I think this is, sorry Rachel Harrison, this is probably gonna bump such sharp teeth down because I really, really want to read this one because it's one of my most highly anticipated books of the year. And then at the library, Someone You Can Build a Nest In was on the new book shelf, and I've heard really good things. This is like cozy queer horror. Anyways, I've just seen rave reviews for it, and I'm so curious to read it and see like what all the hoopla is about. So yeah, anyway, yeah, so RIP to my TBR. I think this is what I'm gonna be picking up next. Hello friends, it's Monday and it's day 4 of Summerween. I just got home from work and I need to eat lunch. The kids and I are gonna clean the house because it's, you know, it's messy again. Let me see if I can, oh, sorry Pez, covered up her sunspot. I am almost 50% of the way through Leather and Lark. This is really good. It is Lachlan, who's the brother of the hero from the first book, and Lark, who is the best friend of the heroine from the first book. And Lachlan is a contract killer, and Lark is a secret serial killer. She kills pedophiles, but nobody knows. And she keeps it a secret to keep everyone safe. And they have to get married for reasons, even though they hate each other. So it's enemies-ish, you know, to lovers, and marriage of convenience, fake relationship, you know, all things that I like. I mean, not so much enemies to lovers, but I do love a fake relationship and a marriage of convenience. So I'm liking all that. I like anything that forces the love interests into close proximity as much as humanly possible. And I just love these books. They're such a silly, goofy time, but also like extremely violent. So there's that. I'm not loving it as much as I loved Butcher and Blackbird, but figure out the lighting for this just a minute. Is that better? That's better. I'm not loving it as much as I love Butcher and Blackbird, but I am coming off of like, you know, several super violent, gory books. And so I'm just struggling with the gore this time. I did, like I said, have the audiobook, but I'm finding the audiobook to be a little overwhelming right now because there are like sound effects and the narrators are just a little too good at their jobs. So I'm not enjoying the audiobook as much. So I did switch to reading it with my eyeballs, and I'm liking it a lot more, but it's so compulsively readable. This is also not a realistic book. I know my like thing about Fantasticland was that it wasn't, you had to suspend your disbelief, or one of my things about Fantasticland. And in this one, you also have to suspend your disbelief, but I don't know, it just works better for me in this one. I think because there's humor. And so with it being funny, when things are funny, I'm more willing to suspend my disbelief versus when they're really dark and bleak. I don't know. We contain multitudes. What else can I say? And then very excitingly, my Aardvark book box arrived, which means my copy of I Was a Teenage Slasher is finally here. So this one may also just throw off all the reading plans because I'm so excited for this book. Haha. Okay. Yeah, this was an easy pick. I wasn't even tempted to pick anything else other than this book. Oh, I'm so excited. It looks like watermelon. I love it. I love that color combo. So excited it's here. So yeah, wish my TBR luck, because now I have 3 books that I really want to read versus, you know, what was on my TBR. Now I'm officially no longer interested in anything else that's on my TBR. I just want to read this, and Someone You Can Build a Nest In. So who knows? I will probably pop in the audio for this one after I have lunch once we're cleaning the house. And then who knows? Today's also going to be hot. Today's going to be like 101, I think, or 100 degrees. Anyways, it's going to be really hot. So the name of the game is just stay cool and stay hydrated the rest of the day. And hopefully that will involve a lot of reading. Hello friends, I owe you an update. You hear the AC unit in the background? That's what that noise is. It is literally 100 degrees today. It's actually 102 degrees today. So I'm just not turning it off. I take my youngest to swim lessons here pretty quick, but let me give you your update. So finished Leather and Lark late last night, and I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I really liked this. I didn't love it as much as Butcher and Blackbird, but Butcher and Blackbird I think was just like a really special reading experience, so I didn't think I would be able to replicate it with this one, but I did really like this. I loved that this one was a slow burn. Like, nothing happens until like 3/4 of the way through the book, so I love a good slow burn. And I felt like this one wasn't quite as gory as Butcher and Blackbird, but I think because I've read so many violent books, I'm trying to get rid of that shadow, there we go, so many violent books, so many gory books back to back, I just was a little extra sensitive to it. But I did like this one. I liked their relationship. I'm not gonna pretend that there's not, cringy or, I'm not gonna pretend there's not cringy things that the characters say in Butcher and Blackbird, but when I read that, I was so in it that I didn't clock it as cringe, or if it was, it didn't bother me. I clocked it in this one a little bit more. Some of the things that people said they didn't enjoy about Butcher and Blackbird, like the way the characters talked, the way Hero talks, stuff like that, the suspension of disbelief that these people are just out murdering all these people and not doing a very good job of like covering their tracks, and not like the police aren't finding them. Like, that is hard. Is a criticism I've heard. I saw it a little bit more in this one. I saw the themes a little bit more, but at the end of the day, I had a really fun time. This is really propulsive. It's very escapist, and it's not a short book. It's almost 400 pages, and I flew through it in like 24 hours, maybe a little over, maybe like 30 hours. So I had a great time. So it's 4.5. Even being able to see all the flaws, I don't care. It's a 4.5. And then, as you saw this morning, I started Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. This is cozy queer horror. Like I said, we're following a monster named Shishin, who is like this amorphous blob, this gelatinous blob. Yeah, I think blob is the best word. And she can eat things and use them to help give her a body, like whether it's a length of chain, a bear trap, or people or animals. And she ends up meeting this woman named Homily from the nearby village, and Homily mistakes her for a human. And Homily's family is tasked with eliminating the monster that lives in the forest outside of the village. And Shishin unwittingly volunteers to help Homily hunt down the monster, except the monster is Shishin. So this is pretty funny so far. It's like a totally different vibe, a totally different voice, totally different like everything than what I've been reading in this readathon so far. So that's a really fun change of pace. However, it is a slower pace. So I've only read 96 pages in this book today, which is fine. I don't mind slowing down a little bit. I think I would have the worst book hangover if I actually read 7 books in 7 days. Not that that wouldn't be fun, but I think that might actually kill me. So I am reading this a little bit slower, but I am liking it. It's very different, and I'm really interested to see where we go with this one. And then I needed an audiobook today because I was in the car for a little bit, and I cannot multitask while I'm listening to this on audio. So I started the audio for my reread of The Hollow of Fear. This is book 3 in the Lady Sherlock series. Y'all, I'm reading one of these books in every vlog I make until I finish the series. I am going to talk about this series until y'all either unsubscribe or read it. I would prefer you read it. So if you haven't, please read this series. Anyways, this is a gender-swapped Sherlock cozy historical mystery series. There is a lovely slow burn romance in here. Nobody writes pining the way Sherry Thomas does. It's delightful. And I will say, okay, so it's hard to talk about these books as we keep going in the series because they are so dependent on them. They are not standalones. You very much have to know what happened in the previous book for what happens in this book to make sense, and Sherry Thomas is not going to hold your hand and like remind you about what happened. But this is my favorite in the whole series. This one is my favorite. This is the one where I find the mystery the most compelling. I find the relationships between all the characters the most interesting, and the scenes between Charlotte and Ash in this book, oh, it's so good. So I'm really excited. I only got through chapter 1 in the car, but it's a long chapter. But I would do anything for Charlotte. I don't know how to get that. I don't know how to properly convey my love for this series other than to say I would do anything for Charlotte. All right, that's your update. I need to go get my youngest ready for swim lessons. I am not looking forward to sitting in our swim center when it is 102 degrees outside. That is gonna be miserable, but I'm gonna bring this. I'm gonna bring my headphones, and then that way try to disassociate. It's only 30 minutes. It's gonna be miserable though. Anyways, but this is the last day of the heat wave, and tomorrow it's only gonna be 91, and I'm pretty excited about it. Hello everyone. Well, happy Thursday. Happy last day of Summerween. I hope you all had so much fun this week. I know I had a blast with my reading, and I'm so grateful to Gabby for creating such a wonderful readathon. I did somehow, I'm shocked that I finished them, but I finished Someone You Could Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. This book just I didn't have the emotional impact that I think a lot of people have had while reading this book, and I don't know why really. It has a lot of things that should have worked really well for me, but I think the themes of queerness and monstrous were really well done. I thought they were great. I really liked the themes of ending familial cycles of abuse. Like, there was enough horror that it was fun, but not so much that it was overwhelming. Maybe if you're a more sensitive reader, and after reading some really violent books, it was kind of nice to not have it be too gruesome. And it is definitely, yeah, I would definitely say cozy horror is a good descriptor. I think my problem is I don't know if cozy horror really works for me. It sounds good on paper, but I don't know if in practice it's my favorite. And then I did finish my reread of The Hollow of Fear, which, it's still a 5-star. It's still a 5-star. Listen, okay, this one is great. So in this one, Ash, who is one of Charlotte's longtime friends, they've known each other for a really long time. They've always had this tension and this pining for each other, but Ash is married to somebody else, and Ash is very principled and won't even contemplate not being faithful to his wife, even though he and his wife are very much estranged. And this is Victorian England, so divorce isn't really an option, and if he annuls his marriage, then his children are illegitimate. So there's just a lot of things that keep Ash and Charlotte apart, even though they both want to be together. I thought every time Charlotte propositions Ash, and Ash is like, not offended, a little offended that she's propositioning him, but every time he pretends to be just appalled at her behavior, I laugh. I laugh. I love it. Oh, it makes me want to kick my little feet. It's the best. So anyways, in this one, Ash's estranged wife is found dead on the grounds of his country estate, and it becomes apparent very quickly that somebody is trying to frame Ash for her murder. And so Charlotte, under the alias of Sherlock Holmes, tries to prove that he doesn't do it. and this one is so good. The pining. Oh, the scenes between Ash and Charlotte in this book are just top tier. Their banter is perfect. Sherry Thomas does such a good job of showing how much history and familiarity they have with each other, but still, like, that tension is just perfection. Perfection, and nothing happens. This is not a spicy series. This is not steamy. You are not gonna get nothing. You will get a kiss, and then it is a full fade to black, and then maybe they'll talk about it afterwards, but you don't get anything explicit in this book, and I am still, this is like my third time rereading this book. I was on the edge of my seat and just dying the whole book. So it's the best one, in my opinion. I have other ones that are a close second, but this one is my ride or die book in the series. And now I get to read book 4 and continue to be insufferable about this series. And I'm so excited. So anyways, let's go over what I read. I can't believe how much I read this week. I tallied the pages and it's well over 1,000 pages, which is bananas. But I started with Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. I have no idea what rating I gave this one anymore. And it wasn't that long ago, but I did really like it. Was it a 5? It's a 5 or 4.5. Anyways, I really like this. Fantastic Land, which I didn't love as much, unfortunately. Menacing Manor, and Leather and Lark. So, not the 7 books in 7 days that I fantasized about, but 6 books in 7 days, still pretty stinking good. Should we rate them in terms of enjoyment? That could be fun. Fantastic Land is definitely at the bottom. Someone You Can Build Your Nest In, unfortunately, is next. Really thought I was gonna love that one more than I did. Oh, now it's gonna get hard. I think Menacing Manor. Was that a spider? Oh god, it's a spider. Okay, I'll deal with that in a minute. Menacing Manor, and then Leather and Lark, Bury Your Gaze, and then The Hollow Fear, easily. Oh, okay. So anyways, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me. I would love to hear what you thought about these, if you've read any of them. Yeah, questions, thoughts, concerns, angst. I had a teacher in college. What did he used to say? Questions, concerns, angst. That's what he would say when he was done lecturing. Anyways, if you want to leave an emoji to let me know you are here, let's do a bird emoji. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye!